Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some team doubles gameplay. The score in the background is a 26-0. Playing with my good friend Confetti Hunter. Confetti Hunter is one of the people who I used to play with at the beginning of Halo 4, or at least the beginning in which I joined the community. I didn't join Halo 4 at the very beginning. I joined 3 months into it, which was kind of the perfect time to join in because obviously at the beginning there was a lot of cynicism and pessimism, and there seemed like there was no hope whatsoever because a lot of people disliked the game. There was a lot of negativity swirling around the community, and to an extent there still was when I joined 3 months in, but there was a slight hint of optimism of looking to the future and thinking, you know what, 343 are kind of putting their hand out to the community and doing their best to try and be steadfast in the problems and make corrections wherever possible. Unfortunately, with hindsight, we now know that none of these changes could really stop the cataclysmic failure that was the Halo 4 playlist numbers and the Halo 4 game in general. It's incredibly depressing, and now we see changes like Ricochet being removed from the playlist options. We see Team Heavies being added in as a permanent one, and there was a time where Ricochet was being looked upon as like, you know, this drastic change to the gameplay, and we were looking at stuff like Champions Bundle and the Halo 4 Turbo, where they increased the BR to a 4-shot instead of a 5-shot, and the movement speed from 100% to 110%. This was all at a time where everything seemed possible, and it felt like the state of the Halo 4 game was changing at all times, and we could have turned things around. But unfortunately, it was not meant to be, and Halo 4 sees itself in a state of decline where numbers continue to dwindle, and there are next to zero prospects for Halo 4, you know, as a multiplayer title. It's no longer something that's really discussed in public circles, you know, outside of our own community. When people talk about the state of Halo, they talk about the prospects of sequels rather than, you know, the success or failures of this game. Right now, that just seems like a non-issue. It seems like something that is pretty much been and done, and there's no going back. There's no changes that 343 could implement at this time, and as a result we see 343 implementing very little, just rotational playlists, and they constantly do map votes, but there's no longer any test playlists, there's no longer any completely new fresh playlists as of yet, and it's just kind of a little, it bums me out, I've got to be honest. But one thing that I have learned through my time in the Halo 4 community is that hype can make or break a game, and we've seen this so much in the way that the community interacted surrounding Halo, in which, you know, public figures made large pivotal decisions, and I think it's one of the biggest problems with the internet. I've brought up this kind of topic before, but the fact that the internet is just so easy to get online and to say whatever's on your mind. From my personal perspective, I always come up with the best opinions when I keep my mouth shut for a long amount of time and, you know, take a real great amount of time to, you know, think logically through my decision on whether I like A mechanic, B mechanic, C mechanic, and then, you know, try and come up with a fully formed, fully fledged opinion. And I feel like with Halo 4, there were just too many knee-jerk reactions going on. The internet is too well connected. People, you know, you get so much information at the touch of a button. And watch as I assassinate that guy going for OS. Absolutely beautiful. That is when their pride was completely removed. Any chance they had of a comeback or some sort of retention of dignity was gone at that point, and they probably wanted to kill themselves at this point. Not sure why they stayed in the game, and for that, props to them, because a lot of players wouldn't. Doubles, you get a ton of rage quitters, even when, you know, I've had games where, like, oh, the enemy team got a good start to the game, they're 2-0 up, but then we go up to 4-2, and now we're, like, starting to pull a comeback, and they rage quit because they're so salty that they lost their opening start. It's so dumb. It's so frustrating when the population is this low and there's so little at stake, yet people are still so mad and upset that they're losing games. Dumb. But anywho, going on with the topic, I just feel like it's kind of, people need to think about what they say before they say it a lot more, and from my perspective, I want Halo to succeed, because I know that no matter what, at least in this generation, and I hope it stands to reason next generation, no matter what Halo game comes out, Halo's going to be better than Call of Duty at this point. Call of Duty is beyond redemption. Every single trick has been used. If you watch the latest Call of Duty trailers, you know that they're pretty much clutching at straws. You know, with the Call of Duty Ghosts DLC trailers, you saw stuff like they're adding in Predator, they're adding in Michael Myers as playable characters, because they're out of tricks. You can even get a Snoop Dogg 420 camo for your weapon. Like, if that's not screaming out of ideas, if that's not screaming, we're desperate, I don't know what is. And at the end of the day, I think people should be a lot more calculated in the way in which they spout their opinions on forums, because the only people they're hurting is themselves when 3 months from now they've got no community to interact with, no game to play, and they're clutching at straws in any way they physically can. You know, playing a Halo game with a outdated throwdown mode, which might not necessarily be considered as good as classic Halo, is still surely better than playing a Call of Duty game at a competitive level, where competitive COD mostly consists of SND, where you camp in corners with sniper rifles and disgraceful other types of gameplay. I don't want to hate on COD too much, but I do enjoy it a little bit too much. Anywho, I've been Modest Major. I hope you guys see where I'm coming from. Thank you for watching. Peace.